It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbin Minds. Welcome. My name is Abu Kalbuch, and thanks a lot for joining us. Yesterday, the 29th of May, lots of Nigerians, I want to believe, marked what has been what used to be Democracy Day. A lot of governors around the country are sort of marking their second year or sixth year in office. Mr. President Buhari as well is the sixth year in office, and a lot of people are just sort of checking out the scorecards of those who have been elected on the 29th of May. And we are going to be talking about that today, just basically looking at the 6-year scorecard of President Buhari in office. Mr. Femi Adesina, who is the media personal assistant to the president, released a 45-page document of Mr. President's achievement. And by any standards, of course, 45 pages is quite an inexhaustive one. I know that while maybe many people may have disagreements with that, I mean, it definitely does speak for itself, whether you like it or not. We're going to be talking about that and see what the response to this is. I'm joined now from our Abuja studios by Ahmed Buhari. Ahmed, thank you very much for joining us. Just very quickly, as in a summary, how would you rate the government's performance, Mr. President, in the last 6 years?
I'm very well.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I can hear you. I hope you can hear me too. Thanks for joining us. It's been 6 years of President Buhari's administration. There's a lot of conversations with regards to how Nigerians would rate this. A lot of people are very unhappy, and I'm sure you do know that. Insecurity, of course, is topmost in people's minds, and it was definitely one of the biggest campaign points for Mr. President in 2015 and, of course, in 2019 as well. But we are going through very, very scary times, and it's literally all across the country. Would you say that Mr. President has done well in that regard?
Security is a very, very sensitive thing. And I would say that the president, in his own words, which he has always maintained, has done his best. Another thing I would say is that he has done relatively well in terms of managing the crisis. I tend to look at security and the challenges that we face in terms of security from a much more less central point of view that places the entire burden on the president. Security is everybody's burden at the end of the day. The state governors have a part to play. Local government leaders have a part to play. Traditional rulers have a part to play, and then citizens also have a part to play. When we look at the enormous challenges being faced by security, and I'll just give a brief on some of them, from Boko Haram, the Eastern Security Network terrorism, unknown gunmen attacking, police formations and security formations, kidnapping, banditry, and robbery. A lot of this are drawn from some issues, and these issues can fall back to other issues. And let me start by saying that 1, poverty; 2, unemployment; and 3, political instigation. Where all of these have contributed to some of the security challenges that we are facing, and the president has and continues to tackle it from both kinetic and non-kinetic means. Kinetic means in the sense that we would eventually have to have boots on ground, and non-kinetic means is we will have to engage with people. We will have to get the community leaders to talk to the young people, to see that to see a better to make better choices as to life, and not taking up terrorism. One of the things that, if you have observed, even in the conversations around criminality such as banditry and what have you, you will notice that these people criminals are not people that are unknown to the communities. They are people that are known in the communities. So what we need is a situation where community leaders play a very critical role in ensuring that, one, they gather intelligence.
Your Honor, just sorry to cut you in there. Yes, I can hear you. Just sorry to cut you in there. It's good enough to reel out all of this, but we're talking 6 years. I want this to be very clear. 6 years since Mr. President came into office.
No,
Let me finish. He clearly said
okay.
when he was coming into office that he would lead from the front, made a lot of promises to wipe out terrorism in this country. We're at a point now where things have gone from being sectional to almost national on so many fronts. As much as you want to say people have a responsibility and governors should do things a certain way, he also did say specifically, even when he was campaigning, that the buck should always stop at the president's table. We can't be making excuses when people are dying. People are literally dying every day now, literally. We can't still be talking about we should engage. What is being done is what people want to know.
No, Ebuka, I think you are misreading me. Engagements have been ongoing. We've had at least two security town hall meetings where stakeholders, community leaders were brought to the table, engaged upon, and this has even been happening for the past 3 years. And this, I'm talking about even the most recent engagements where we had community leaders. The NSA's office had a town hall meeting in Kaduna. The Minister of Information also had another town hall meeting. So engagements are ongoing. This is not. When I say that we should, I'm saying that it's also ongoing and it's also going to continue happening. Boots on ground. We have troops and forces all across the country, even though they are overstretched. But they are all over the country and they are working as well. We're making arrests. We're seeing a lot of the criminals and bandits who are engaged in this criminalities being arrested. Let's also look at, if we're going to even talk about when we came into to power, as at 2015, the major challenge as at then was Boko Haram. And
which still is a challenge.
The current state of things as regards that fight against Boko Haram, the government has done exceedingly well. Let's not forget where we are coming from. At some point in time, in Abuja,
but Boko Haram is still killing Nigerians. It doesn't matter if it's killing in Abuja or not. Nigerians are still dying. It doesn't have to happen in Abuja or anywhere else. Why does it have to happen in Abuja for it to be a bigger problem? People are still dying and Boko Haram is still killing people. Why does it have to happen in Abuja for it to be a problem?
I'm not limiting this to Abuja. I'm giving you only an example.
I'll come back to you.
For instance.
I'll come back to you.
Also.
I'll come back to you, sorry, Johannes, for a moment.
Challenges are metamorphosing.
I'll come back to you. I have another guest. I just want to get his perspective.
Okay.
Ahmed Buhari. Okay, Ahmed Buhari is not with us. Okay, Johannes, please continue. Finish what you're trying to say.
Okay, so what I was saying, Ebuka, is this. We've come a long way when we look at insecurity. And the thing is that the security challenges of 6 years ago are not the same security challenges of today.
So have they gotten worse? Have they gotten worse in your opinion? Because like I said, you're not letting me finish my questions. You're not letting me finish my questions. Let me finish my question. Because you talked about, Boko Haram, and everybody did know at the time that for the most part it was limited to the northeast, which was bad enough. Yes, they seeped into Abuja a few times. Now we're dealing with a plethora of issues. We're talking about kidnapping around the south. We're talking about people being killed. You mentioned unknown gunmen around the southeast as well. So now it's even more of a national problem. Don't you think it's worse now? And you're saying that we've progressed.
No. Let me put it this way. And like I said, you've misread me a second time. On the issue of the challenges of Boko Haram, we have done very well on that. Those challenges that we faced in 2015 are not the exact challenges we are facing right now. We now have new challenges in insecurity. Like you have mentioned, kidnapping has taken a new dimension. Banditry has also taken a new dimension. And let's not also forget that these issues were there, but to be honest, they have taken a new dimension and have gotten worse in some areas. Now, what we now have to do and what we are doing is stepping up the game, improving intelligence gathering through communities. And that is what I was mentioning. That's what I was mentioning to you. That you are not going to have the president send troops to the entire country to deal with insecurity. You have to tackle it with the communities, hand in hand, to go into the root causes of this issue, which is poverty and unemployment. As long as people do not have jobs, as long as people are faced with economic challenges, crime will always be on the increase. And one of the reasons that we are facing a lot of economic challenges is the pandemic. The pandemic came in. It's drained a lot of the resources of the country. It drained a lot of the financial wherewithal of the government to be able to embark on so many programs. And you know, people's means of livelihood were taken away from them. And what the government is now working towards and has been working towards even before the pandemic is ensuring that we give people a means back to their livelihood. We have the economic sustainability plan. We may not see the progress that has been made, you know, in so much a gargantuan form, but we must acknowledge that even the figures are showing that we've improved on growth. We are seeing that we came in and met an economy that was extremely reliant on oil. The prices of oil dropped; it crashed by a very crazy amount. We were doing oil at $80 per barrel, and the next thing we're doing at $29 per barrel. Imagine that is the only source of our income. The economy dropped. This government focused on ensuring that we are able to look at other sources of improving our revenue, improving not just government revenue, but creating more jobs for people.
Okay,
And then we have.
I mean, security is such a sensitive issue, like you said, and honestly, it's
Yes.
good enough to see a lot of these things on TV, but people on ground know exactly what they feel, and it's hard for us to keep going back and forth when the average Nigerian does not see these things translated in real life. But let's move on to other things, because you've talked about poverty a lot there, and you also mentioned the pandemic. A lot of countries, virtually every country went through a lockdown and the pandemic as well. I was seeing
Absolutely.
very impressive recoveries across the world. I mean, South Africa, for example, has not been such a healthy economy for a long time. But the rand has gained over 3% in the last couple of months. The naira continues to dip, crossed over 500 naira about 2 or 3 days ago. So the economic conversation and the lockdown excuse for a lot of people is not even that tenable. Talk about education, for example. Talking about the document that was released by Mr. President's team, we heard that over 1 trillion naira has been spent on education. Nigerian students have been at home for the better part of 2 years. Yes, there was a lockdown, but even before that, there was a strike. And people can't see this translated even to the education sector. So what is being done there?
Ebuka, when we look at the problems and challenges such as education, let us not make the mistake to think that you will sink in 1 trillion today and education will change tomorrow. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. I'm currently sitting on a presidential visitation panel to the Federal University at Otueke, and I know what we're seeing there. We're talking of challenges of the past 10 years. We're talking of the establishment procedure of a university. So you can't just change education, even if you pour in 200 trillion on education in one minute. Our challenges are not going to change overnight. You have to remodel the system. Now, when we talk about students being at home, what has been the cause of that? It has been ASU strikes. And what it's not that the government was sleeping on its oars, to solve the challenges of the ASU strike. They were meeting over and over again until results were made. And this government has been very, very sincere with ASU. It has been the one paying most of the obligations that previous governments entered into agreements with ASU on. Agreements that were almost unimplementable, especially in terms of the resources that were being requested for by ASU. But this government is paying it. So we need to understand that the government is doing more with less. We're having a situation where we are having dipping revenue, but more needs that must be met, and we're still trying our best to meet these needs. So while I understand that the challenges are more, and I'm not denying the fact that there are challenges, and you may have played down the recovery that Nigeria has experienced, but I think that should not be so. Nigeria has experienced a good recovery as compared to other countries. There are some countries that are still not yet out of recession, coming from the pandemic. Nigeria is out of the pandemic. Nigeria our GDP has grown by 0.5%. We are seeing GDP growth in agriculture, in manufacturing, in ICT, and we haven't seen this in years. So it's not. Let's not sell the narrative that Nigeria is going to change by a one fell swoop, especially given the challenges of dipping revenue of a pandemic. No, it's not going to change overnight.
So I hear this a lot, things are not going to change overnight. And I think a lot of Nigerians appreciate that, because we've had a very long history from the military, coming down to now when things have been managed really badly. 6 years, you're saying now is still not enough. Mr. President has 2 years to go. Does that mean that in 2 years' time, we're still going to be at this point? Because 6 years is a long time. The pandemic happened for about a year. We had 5 years to build to something. We have 2 years left in this administration. Does this mean that we're still going to be talking about this in 2 years' time?
Ebuka, calm down. You can't stay in Lagos and think that things have not changed. Go to Kebbi State. Go and see the rice farms that are there. Look at the anchor borrowers and the millions of farmers that are benefiting. Look at the Lagos Ibadan expressway under construction. Look at the Lagos Ibadan railway also. Look at the Abuja Kaduna railway as well. Look at the ports that are being opened up. We've made progress. You see, while I admit that there are security challenges, and I mean very serious security challenges, we cannot downplay the progress that has been made over time, especially despite a pandemic, Ebuka. We need to understand that a lot has been done. We've done 6 years. There's a lot of evidence to show that this 6 years has been worth it for several and millions of Nigerians. We've had the biggest social investment programs that can ever be contemplated in this country. So we cannot say that there's been no progress. In 2 years' time, the president will come and deliver a big scorecard that Nigerians will be proud of. And hopefully by then, the security challenges would have been totally exterminated, and when we'll be able to see clearly. Because I will be very honest with you right now, given the security challenges, there's a lot of cloud in our eyes to not appreciate some of the progress that has been made. But I'm very sure, by God's grace, that once these issues have been tackled, given the many strategies that have been put in place by the new service chiefs, we'll be able to appreciate this challenge, these solutions and all this progress that has been made. And okay. You see, let's not look at government. Ebuka, there's something I need to say. Let's not look at government from a 4-year mandate perspective or next 4 years. Let's look at government from the next 20 years. I think the APC as a party is laying a foundation for a long-term change of Nigeria, for a long-term transformation of Nigeria, especially our infrastructure.
I need to ask one last question because we're almost out of time. I'm not sure where you got the impression that I don't leave Lagos. I don't think you know anything about how I go around or where I visit. So I think that's totally uncalled for.
Please, I think
but before we go, just quickly.
Have you visited the train? Have you used the train yet?
You're not letting me finish.
Okay,
can I ask you a question? Don't assume that I don't know or I don't travel around Nigeria. You have no idea about how I move or where I go to. Finally, okay. What would you say is Mr. President's sort of biggest achievement in the last 6 years? I mean, yes, we do hear a lot about the trains and infrastructure. Would you say that that's been his biggest strength in his time in office?
I would say that, yes, that is his biggest strength in office. I would say that his infrastructure drive has been unprecedented in the whole of Nigeria, especially given the fact that this government has had little access to resources. Compared to previous administrations, our earnings in terms of foreign exchange, basically oil earnings, has been oscillating from about $39 per barrel or $29 per barrel to about $40 to $50, $60 per barrel within the last 6 years of this administration. That is the lowest that the last 12 years has seen. Given that kind of income, given the fact that we also faced a very horrific pandemic, which we are still battling up till date, I think the infrastructure drive and the agricultural diversification are some of the key things that this president would hold strong as his legacies upon leaving.
Thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully when we next meet, we'll talk about happier things. All right, we'll take a quick break now and we'll be right back. Please don't go away.